Shana Tova. When was the last time you prayed for a miracle? Some of us pray for miracles all the time. Miracles come in all sizes, both big and small. We pray for big miracles, such as the survival of a loved one with a terminal disease, or the end of the war in Ukraine, or, of course, Shalom b'Yisrael, peace in Israel. And we also pray for small miracles. Will the teacher hand my test back with an A? Will my scale reveal that I have lost 5 pounds? I imagine there are a number of us in this room at 11 o'clock on a Sunday hoping for their NFL football team to win. We pray for miracles because sometimes the world seems out of our control. At those moments, we turn to God for help. But at those moments, is the world actually out of our control? One of the first times I prayed for a small miracle was when I played Little League Baseball. I would walk to the batter's box and prayed, "Please, God, please, may the ball not hit me." I was petrified that the ball would. Not only was I afraid, but I was frozen in fear. So I added another prayer. God, may a mighty wind take the ball from the pitcher's hand and drift it away from the plate. And may this happen 4 times. When do we pray for miracles? Too often it is at moments when we are afraid, when we seek to avoid pain, and when we desire to avoid risk. At those instants, it is much easier to turn to God and ask her to change the world around us than for us to deal with the discomforting reality. When was the last time you prayed for a miracle? I learned a lot about miracles and what it means to pray for them this past January 2nd. At that time, I was in Israel. I woke up in the early morning and turned on the TV, and even though I was 7 time zones away, the international news was covering the story of the National Football League's Buffalo Bills safety, Damar Hamlin. In the middle of a game against the Cincinnati Bengals, Damar Hamlin literally died on a football field. His heart stopped. He ceased breathing, and he lay motionless on the field. The players immediately stopped what they were doing. This was no small feat for 2 warring NFL teams playing a violent game fighting for playoff contention. Yet they all stopped in their tracks and frantically called for help. Out ran the paramedic team, led by Denny Kellington. As I watched thousands of miles away, I thought, oh no, God, not again. It had only been 4 months since my father passed away from cardiac arrest, and I could not bear witnessing this again. I joined the players, the fans in the stands, and the international viewing audience and prayed for a miracle. Fighting back despair, I prayed, El na refanala. Please, God, heal him, return him to life. As time passed, we learned they brought his heart back, but alas, he was in a coma. Please, God, allow him to wake from the coma, we prayed. And then he awoke from the coma. So we prayed, may he be able to breathe on his own. And then he did. So we prayed, may he be able to regain his strength. And he did. In fact, just a few weeks ago, at the end of the NFL season, preseason, Damar Hamlin won a spot on the regular season team of the Buffalo Bills. He was dead, and then he was alive again. A miracle. How was it that such a miracle came to fruition? What caused this miracle? Was it our prayers? Was it God's kindness? Was it both? I think it was much more. Months later, as he delivered the commencement speech at his alma mater, Oklahoma State University, Bill's assistant athletic trainer, Denny Kellington, shared the miracle of Damar Hamlin's survival did not happen at that moment, but it was a process that happened over years. In his own words, I've said repeatedly that I am not a hero, but I will tell you what I was that day on January 2nd. I was ready. For 27 years, I've showed up to work as an athletic trainer in some capacity. I was ready because I dedicated my life to this work and because I had the support of my friends, my family, my mentors, and my teachers. Was there an element of the divine that brought Damar Hamlin back to life? Perhaps. But there was also a man working for 27 years with the support of others in the field of cardiac resuscitation. Underneath the many prayers and underneath the heavens to which they were directed was the disciplined, consistent, and sacred work of Denny Kellington and his team. When was the last time you prayed for a miracle? For many of us, it is today. We are gathered here for Rosh Hashanah. We come with requests in our heart and looking for answers. And there is an answer for us. It is at the central part of our service when the ark is opened. At that moment, we ask God to answer our prayers according to the liturgy by opening our hearts to Torah. Torah is much more than a book or a scroll held in the ark. Torah is a process. Torah is an internal conversation among hundreds of generations of Jewish men and women trying to figure out the best way to bring God's holiness to our world and how to repair our world. In many ways, the Torah is the result of God putting the world into our hands and tasking us with keeping it alive and keeping it safe. The Torah becomes the blueprint we create that can be adjusted from time to time, but ultimately requires disciplined, consistent, and sacred work. Praying for a miracle, though, requires more than a blueprint. Our heritage teaches us that miracle work requires more. All birthing stories are stories of miracles, and this is true for the birth story for us as a people. At one particular moment, we were at the shore of the Sea of Reeds. Behind us, the Egyptians were pursuing us, and in front of us was the deep blue sea. The Torah tells us Moses and the people began to pray. After years of slavery, of having their fate and their actions controlled by Pharaoh, they pour out their hearts. Greatly frightened, the Torah reads, they cried out to the Lord. It was a liminal moment for us. We were praying for the opportunity to not act, for God's self to change the world in our favor. Had that prayer been answered, what type of people might have we become? And how does God respond? As the Torah recounts, God asked Moses, "Why do you cry out to me? tell the Israelites to go forward. To be clear, the people ask for a miracle, and God says, Kadima, move forward. At that moment, God was trying to teach us, if you want a miracle, you have to take action. Moses and the people turned their sights to the crashing waves, but understandably, no one takes a step. Enter Nachshon, the son of Aminadav, which means the child of a nation of volunteers. As the Talmud tells it, when the Israelites were standing at the shores of the Red Sea, one cries out, I don't want to go down to the sea first, it's too scary. Another shares, I don't want to go down first either, I might get hurt. While they were standing there, and while Moses was praying to God to save them, the Talmud recalls Nachshon jumps up, heads to the beach, and literally falls into the waves. At that point, the seas parted, and as they say, the rest is history. Our sages conclude that only when Nachshon takes the initiative does the eastern wind, created on the sixth day of creation, complete its historic mission to allow the Jewish people to be free. To be clear, a plan, a divine blueprint, only comes to fruition when Nachshon steps forward. This is one of my favorite scenes of our canon because it teaches us what it truly means to pray for a miracle, something that is only achieved when we make the choice to act. Throughout our eternal journey as a people, we are at our best when we don't passively place our fates in God's hands. We are at our best when we take chances, when we are willing to fail. But ultimately, ours is a story, as Rabbi Erwin Huberman writes, of risk and optimism grounded in a healthy dose of faith. Would there have been a state of Israel if thousands of pre- and post-World War II Jews had not pursued the vision of Theodor Herzl, who wrote in 1896, Im tirtzu ein zo agada, if you will it is no dream? Finding a beshert or life partner is a miracle, but it cannot happen unless we have the courage to say hello. Conversely, how many people just wait for God to make the next move, and that miracle never comes? A rabbi once asked, why is it that the National Geographic and Life magazines tended to get the best and most incredible pictures? And he answers, because their photographers have the courage to advance to the outer boundaries of the natural world and take them. There is a bit of Nachshon in each of us. He reminds us that there is a potential for miracles to be revealed in our lives each and every day, with many more to come. We just need to take that initial step. The world just experienced its hottest year on record. There is an island of plastic in the Pacific Ocean larger than the state of Texas. Our Torah teaches us that we are to be Shomrei Adamah, keepers of the earth, and we should be Bal Tashchit, not wasting. Are we praying for a miracle that the glaciers will somehow completely return and pollution will disappear? Or can we take a small step to recycle, reuse a water bottle, maybe use one last plastic bag? Anti-Semitism is on the rise. Do we pray to God that it simply goes away? Do we pray that people will just come to understand our perspective? Our Torah teaches us to remember that in every generation, Amalek rises to destroy us. Can we take a small step and do what Ethan David did, whose bar mitzvah will be in this sanctuary 1 month from now? When Ethan saw the picture of Hitler posted with great world leaders in his classroom wall at Carmel Valley Middle School, he took the small step to raise his hand and told his teacher that this was wrong and he was uncomfortable. Even when it comes to our own personal health, do we pray, please God, make the pounds go away. Please may my cholesterol go down. Our Torah teaches us we are all made in God's image, and our house, our body is a temple for God's presence to dwell, which we are to care for. Can we eat a fewer meals with meat? Can we take the small and challenging step of making an annual doctor's appointment and then take another small step to actually go to our doctor and then take a small step to listen to our doctor? Maybe then take the medications they prescribe to us? Denny Kellington concluded his commencement address by saying, "Understand this, small things done with passion and intention have the potential to make a lasting impact with ripple effects that you may never understand." There is also a rabbinic story that teaches this same idea. Water shortage has always been a source of prayer. Long before the depletion of Lake Mead, the overusage of our groundwater, and the drought of the southwestern United States, the rabbis of ancient Israel dealt with the challenges of long periods of no rain and the droughts that would ensue. And what did they do? They would call in a prayer leader to pray for a miracle of rain. On one particular occasion, after the prayer leader concluded their prayers, the wind began to blow, gray clouds filled the sky, and sweet rain came down and rescued the people. The great master Rav turns to the leader, and what does he say? Does he say, tell me the exact words, the formula of the prayer that you recited? Rather, Rav in his wisdom asks, what are your good deeds? The young prayer leader turns to him and says, I am a teacher of children, and I teach the Bible to the children of the poor, as same as the children to the rich. And if there is anyone who cannot pay, I do not take anything from him. And I have a fish pond, and any child who neglects his studies, I bribe him with the fish and calm him and soothe him until he comes back to class and reads from our Torah. According to the story, it is the teacher that causes the miracle. Was it the teacher's prayer that causes the rain? Perhaps. Was it God's grace? Perhaps. Was it the student of the teacher who learned not to waste who caused the rain? Perhaps. Was it the kindness that the students shared with each other as a result of how they were treated by their teacher that caused the rain? Perhaps. We don't exactly know which small action caused the miracle, but we do know that each one mattered and helped a prayer for a miracle be answered. To this end, this year, Women's Circle and our Hebrew school families will be participating in a mitzvah day. Will we cure hunger? Probably not. Will we end homelessness in San Diego? No. Will we remove all clutter from our campus and make it the most beautiful campus in San Diego? Maybe. But what I do know is there will be some who will not be hungry the night after mitzvah day. There will be some who have a warm blanket to protect them on the cold San Diego streets the night after mitzvah day. And there will be a few weeded, mulched, and nicely planted sections of our Beth campus following mitzvah day. The Jewish mystical idea of Tikkun Olam is about putting a broken world back together. We might not put all of the pieces of our shattered world together on mitzvah day, but I do know on February 4th, we will glue together a few broken shards. We faced many great challenges in our world, and equally as bad is the belief affirmed in a recent Pew poll, there is nothing we can do to change them. Similarly, coming out of a pandemic when so much was out of our control, it is easy to forget how much power we still carry. It is therefore incumbent on us, on this Rosh Hashanah, for us, the people of Torah, to see within ourselves that we can make miracles happen. We can do so in our own lives, in our homes, and in our community. How? Not specifically through the words of our prayers, but only when we allow them to inspire us to live courageous lives of Torah, lives of disciplined, consistent, and sacred work. The late Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel put it best when he was marching for civil rights and said, "On that day, I was praying with my feet." When was the last time you prayed for a miracle with your own 2 feet? I have few regrets, but if I could go back in time and talk to myself when I was young, I would go to the small, uncoordinated, and timid 6-year-old boy who was on his way to the batter's box and praying for a miracle. And I would say to him, yes, the problems of the batter's box are real. The ball is fast, and if it hits you, it can hurt. But practice. Keep working on your skills. And most importantly, see in your hands you hold a bat that you can use and has the power to send the ball a long way. So lean in and swing. Shana Tova.